Hey, mighty good friends. This is Amy Temperley with A Mighty Good Time back for another conversation with one of our organizers and event hosts at A Mighty Good Time. Today, I'm really excited to have with us Rob Faubion from Age of Central Texas. And it's nice, I meet so many new people when I do these interviews, but what's wonderful is I've known Rob probably since he started at Age of Central Texas because I live here in the Austin area and do a lot of work in collaboration with Age. So I'm really glad to have Rob here today. Welcome. It's nice to see you.
It's great to see you, Amy. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Of course, of course. Well, let's get started with the basics. Tell us a little bit about Age of Central Texas and what you guys do and some of the classes that you offer that our clients might be able to take a look at.
Most certainly. So, Age of Central Texas is a regional nonprofit organization. We were born right here in Central Texas 36 years ago. And our founders were civic leaders in the community who were aging themselves and realized that at the time there was no one-stop shop for information or resources for older adults or family caregivers. And so they created Age of Central Texas as an opportunity to help older adults to be able to thrive, to help them to continue to be an active part of the community, to continue to socialize and have opportunities to stay connected. And they were very forward thinking in realizing that in order to do that, we also needed to support the family caregiver. And so our programming is built around helping older adults stay connected in the community, but also giving the family caregivers the resource, the education, and the support that they need to be successful in their journey in supporting their loved ones. And as you mentioned, a lot of what we do with that is to provide education opportunities. So we have a number of classes that we offer throughout the year, in addition to hosting conferences and webinars and other opportunities that allow the older adults to keep their brains active, to continue to socialize with each other, and then to provide education and support for the caregivers as well.
It's fantastic, and some people don't know that we do have caregiver programming on A Mighty Good Time, and programming for dementia and Alzheimer's, because we do also find that really, really important that we're connecting and supporting the people who are supporting the people, right? So we have to do that.
And that's so true. You know, I'm a caregiver myself. I care both for my parents who are aging. They live independently in Round Rock, but in order for them to continue to be able to age in place in their home, I support them and help them so that they can do that. And then also my husband has early onset of dementia, and so I care for him as well. And when I speak to groups about caregiving, the one topic that keeps coming up is that so many of us were never taught how to caregive. You know, it's not something that they teach us in school, although every single one of us at some point in our life will be a caregiver for another person. And so that's why organizations like Age of Central Texas exist, is to help when you kind of hit that road bump of, why is this happening? Or why is mom or dad doing that? Or, I need some help with this. Where do I find that resource? You have a place to turn that can assist you so that you get over that hump and keep moving forward.
Well, I think it's interesting, you and I, we've both worked with caregivers for a very, very long time, and are also, you're further along in the caregiving process than I am, but I'm finding that my mother is needing more care and she lives with us. And it's different as you're going through it yourself. Even though you know all the resources and you know where to look, it's so important to take up on those support things for yourself, because it brings up everything. It brings up childhood stuff. It brings up grief. It brings up, you can know all the resources, but having people to support you along the way is just crucial so that you're not alone in this journey.
It really is. Everybody's journey is different, but there are a lot of similarities to it. And a lot of the similarity is that we run into things that we don't know how to handle. For example, with my husband, we're starting to have memory loss issues. And when those happen, he's starting to lose his short-term memory. And so he'll be asking me the same thing several times. If I were not in this job or did not have the knowledge, I would get very frustrated about that. It's like, don't you remember I told you that 3 minutes ago? no, it's not him, it's the disease. His brain, the part of his brain that can remember that short-term answer, has been turned off. And so I tell him the answer, and it goes in and it disappears and it's gone. And a few minutes later, he remembers, oh, I forgot to ask you, and ask the question again, because that part of his brain that says, you already asked that question, has been turned off. And so that information is just not there. And so understanding that is like, oh, okay, sure, I'll answer the question again. Not knowing that, if I were a caregiver who didn't have that information, I would be frustrated, I'd be angry, it would beat me down. Why is she doing that? Why is that happening? And so having that knowledge, having that someone to explain that to you is very crucial. And all caregivers run into these speed bumps of, why is not my person doing that? Well, it's because of this. Okay, now I understand. Now I know what's going on. So it's so helpful to have, number one, someone you can turn to and ask that question and get the answer, but also being able to have other caregivers share their information. Support groups are so important. Age of Central Texas has a number of support groups all over the Central Texas area. And it's so very important to be able to share with other caregivers and be able to, number one, get the reassurance that you're not going crazy. Yeah, this happened to me too. But two, to have someone go, yep, me too. I understand. I got your back. I know exactly what's going on. This is what I did in that situation. You go, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to remember that. So, and also just being able to get it out, sitting there festering on all these things that are making you nuts just makes you more nuts. But being able to verbalize it and just get it out there, it's like, okay, now I feel better. And to be able to do it in a safe, protective group of people who are going through the same thing, that go, yeah, me too, is really fantastic opportunity to have.
It is. And age is such a gem in our community because you are experts in this and you've been doing it for 36 years. You understand this. And one of the beauties, I think, of, the pandemic was going virtual, right? And so now, along with, programs that are here in the Central Texas area that people can attend in person, a lot of that you've been doing virtually as well. And it allows for this much greater reach for people, or especially for caregivers who might be homebound because of needing to stay home with their loved one or transportation. And so now we've got an additional way that you can reach people. And I think that's been pretty exciting.
That is very true. Yeah. When the pandemic hit and we had to close all of our in-person programming, our staff is very resourceful and they were able to pivot very quickly to take what was in-person programming and make it virtual and make it still meaningful and make it work. And in particular, two of our programs, we've been able to actually expand them because of that. One is our Memory Connections program, which was originally designed for older adults who are in the early stages of their memory loss. And it was an in-person program where they could gather once a week to not only do brain-boosting activities to stay mentally and physically active, which helps slow the progression of the memory loss, but also, just like support groups, everyone in the group had a diagnosis of memory loss. So it was a very safe place to talk about that and to process the feelings that went with that. When we pivoted to the online, we realized not only does this still continue to work very well, but we can address not only the early memory loss, but the later stages of memory loss as well. So we have a Monday through Friday program now where you can join us online, and depending upon the time of day when you join us is where you are in that stage of memory loss. We do one session for those who are in the early stages, one session for those who are in mid-stage, and one those who have progressed much further in their memory loss. And we do great, fun events every day. One day we might go on a safari to Africa. Next day we might go to Paris and look at all the paintings in the Louvre. Next day, we might have a very active bingo session. But each day is something that is really fun and engaging. We're using our minds, we're exploring, we're sharing with each other, we're reminiscing. You know, through all of your work with Aging is Cool, how important it is to use those skills. But also we're socializing because we're all getting together. This is our thing that we do together each day. So we have a purpose for it. We're getting together, we're sharing with each other, we're socializing. So it's helping to slow that memory loss. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program. The other thing that we've done, especially with our caregiver education, is our Caregiver U classes that we have been hosting for more than a decade are evidence-based caregiving classes for both caregivers and also falls prevention classes for older adults. We pivoted with those and we created a whole new series based on those same buckets of caregiving classes and falls prevention classes that we could do online. And so those we're able to offer much more frequently. We can do those almost every week if we had the opportunity and participants for that. So that no matter where you are in the world, you can join us for that education. And those are all offered for free. And now that things are loosening up, we're going back into in-person again. So we're able to do both in-person if you want to come and get together with other caregivers, have an in-person class series. Or I don't have as much time, great, let's hop online for a 2-class series and we'll do kind of the Reader's Digest version of it. But still you get a lot of great information that can help you in your caregiving journey or help you to realize that falls are not something that's inevitable, and there are great ways to prevent them. And that's, again, all built around, we want to help you age in place as long as possible. So let's keep you safe in your home. Let's keep you safe when you go out to the grocery store so that you don't have to worry about having a fall.
Love it. Love it. So you've been in this space for a while. So tell me about your own aging process. Like, how do you take care of yourself and what do you do? Because as a caregiver as well, there's more to think about than just your physical and cognitive well-being. You also have to think about your emotional well-being as well.
That is so true. And, we always tell caregivers that you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And that's not being selfish, it's being realistic. Because if you're not taking care of yourself and recharging your battery and honoring who you are as a person, well, if you get sick, if you burn out, if something happens to you, then who's going to take care of the person that you're caring for? And so you have to be realistic that you have to take the time for yourself. We always tell that to caregivers and they go, yeah, right. When am I going to do that? When's that going to happen? I don't have time for it. You have to make it happen. I personally write it in my schedule that this is my time. From this time to this time, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go out in the backyard and I'm going to garden. I'm going, whatever it is, this is my time and it's in my schedule and I honor that schedule that this is what I'm going to do. And so that's how I make myself do it. We saw during the pandemic that so many caregivers put off a lot of their own personal health. Most people did because it was difficult to get to the doctor. Granted, we know that most caregivers do put off their own personal health because they're taking care of somebody else. And it happened more so during the pandemic. Now it's kind of become more of a routine that caregivers are delaying their own personal, going to the doctor, going to the dentist, having that procedure that should have been done 3 years ago, things like that, you just can't do that as a caregiver. You have to keep yourself physically healthy. You've got to keep yourself mentally stable. And that's not an easy thing to do in this world today, just in general. And then you throw caregiving on top of it, and that's a whole nother level of madness that you've got to deal with. I get it. I understand 100%. Honestly, if I were not in this job doing this, I've been with H for 8 years. I have learned so much and it's been so helpful for me in my caregiving journey. I understand caregivers who don't know where to turn to find that help. I daily go and talk to my peers here about things happening with my caregiving journey. The majority of our staff are caregivers themselves, which is really rare and really lucky for all of us, that we we not only have the education knowledge of caregiving, but we're knee deep in it ourselves. And so when we're talking with caregivers about what they're going through, we can 100% empathize because we're having the same journey as well. And so it's, for me as a caregiver, I feel very lucky to be working here, but it also makes me feel that I have an added layer on me that I need to make sure other caregivers know this resource is here. Age exists for you. Come use this because I'm using it and I know it works.
And I, for one, am very glad Age is here. It's been a great resource to me and to my clients over the years, and we're just so thankful to have you here. So thank you for joining me, Rob. And for those of you that are looking for caregiver support, looking for education, please do go check out Age of Central Texas. You can find a lot of their programs at amightygoodtime.com. I'll put up the web address, but look, again, search in the search bar, Age of Central Texas, and you'll be able to find those. And we so appreciate your time today.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.